You find yourself lost in Irvingland. Last time we saw Dr. Smith playing mad scientist while attempting to seed some clouds and make rain. Instead, he fired an explosive missile that headed straight for the Jupiter 2 and blew up the crew's weather station. John wants to see Smith right now. Smith wants to be anywhere else.
Who, my dear boy, is that you? No!
Even there, I'm starting to think that every ship that travels anywhere in space has to make at least one stop on this planet.
On my soul, what extraordinary creatures.
Poor devil. Sucked into space when the hull split apart, probably.
A reasonable deduction, but not entirely true.
He's supposed to be a nautical type, calls himself an admiral, talks like a poor imitation of a pirate, and he's wearing a Revolutionary War-era army uniform. Somebody forgot to tell the costume department that British naval uniforms of the time were blue. And if he wants to be a proper Earth pirate of the time, he needs a beard, an eye patch, and a peg leg. Everybody knows that.
Fugitives or castaways, by the look of them. Planning a getaway, are you? Well, Admiral Zark is not averse to helping those who can help him. If
We're
I
all
can
in
make
trouble
barons
now.
out
This
of
guy
them,
talks to himself more than Dr. Smith
You haven't seen
does.
the last of Admiral Zark, Mr. No.
It's pretty obvious that we're spoofing the mutiny on the Bounty, possibly the most famous nautical mutiny in history. It happened in 1789 when Lieutenant Fletcher Christian and a band of followers deposed Lieutenant William Bligh, who was the captain for that trip. Christian and his group set Bligh and a bunch of his loyalists adrift in the ship's longboat and headed for Tahiti and points beyond. Amazingly enough, Bligh finished his trip in that small launch and wrote a book about the mutiny. The story has been novelized multiple times and at least 6 movies have been made based on it. As it so often happens when a story moves from the realm of reality into the realm of fiction, things get skewed. Bligh was a harsh taskmaster, it's true. But Christian and his band weren't the lily-white angels that film has made them out to be either. During a 5-month layover in Tahiti, a lot of them, including Christian, had formed relationships with the local women and really didn't want to go back on board. That meant a lot of them came on with an attitude. I'll leave it to nautical historians to decide whether Captain Bligh was too harsh or not, but there was plenty of no good Nick to go around on both sides.
Won't someone say something to me? Even a friendly smile would be enough. Judy? Oh, sadness, oh, sorrow, we were such good chums. Major, I give you permission to talk to me as harshly as you like. Insult me, please, Major.
Speaking of no good Nicks, the Robinsons have had enough of theirs. He tries to tell them about the ship he found, but nobody cares. They will deign to let him use a repair kit to do whatever it is he does all day, as long as he does it somewhere else.
Oh, poor Dr. Smith.
Poor Dr. Smith. Oh, poor Dr. Smith. Say, why don't we throw him a party just to show him how happy we are that he blew up our weather station? Now, look, I don't care whether he's telling the truth or not about finding that vehicle. And one thing's certain. He's incapable of repairing it. So whatever scheme he's got up his sleeve to get off the hook, just remember this. Until further notice, Dr. Smith is off limits.
You might want to make sure the children know that. Smith finds the robot working on the ship and tells him to stop.
Simple Simon, don't you realize that this pitiful rattletrap of a vehicle will convince the Robinsons that they will be responsible for my death if they let me go? As humanitarians, they will at once regret the cruel and unusual punishment that they've bestowed upon me and restore me at once to my rightful place in their midst.
Yeah, maybe they'll even make you a nice laurel wreath crown and carry you on their shoulders as a conquering hero. And John thinks Will has a vivid imagination. They wander off so Smith can take a nap. He's decided to go with what he does best. Admiral Zark appears and finishes the caulking work that the robot was doing on his ship.
Gosh, robot, there really is a spaceship. Looks like it's a pretty good one, too.
In a manner of speaking, you are correct, Will Robinson.
Have you no greeting for me, dear boy?
Well, tell Dr. Smith I'm sorry, but he's still off limits.
The ridiculous non-conversation is impossible to sustain, especially since Will has difficulty saying the word ostracized.
I see you've been working on a spaceship. Tell Dr. Smith you did a real good caulking job on the hatch.
Thank the young man. Thank him. The hatch? Who is responsible for this?
Do not look at me.
That means there's someone else around here. Dr. Smith didn't count on that. Time to retreat and rethink some things.
Dr. Smith? Dr. Smith?
Dr. Smith got a new hat. It's official. Will has been shanghaied.
Come on, boy, come along. Don't dawdle in the companionway. There's work to be done. Come along, boy, come along, come along. And man the helm, man the helm.
They're inside a metal capsule that doesn't use sails. What does all the rigging do? He has a megaphone that he keeps bellowing orders into even though there's nobody else on the ship. It's time to blast off.
Nothing makes a man more proud of his profession than a splendid liftoff. You'll get your space legs in just a few moments, laddie. Ah, there's Cepheus on the starboard bow.
Here we go again. Cepheus is a constellation in the northern sky on Earth. It's named for a mythical Greek king. And by the way, they're still on the ground.
Stand by for takeoff! Blast away! Drat!
And they're going to stay on the ground. This is a difficult episode to watch and an even more difficult one to review. In a word, it's terrible. Admiral Zark isn't remotely believable. He isn't funny. The way Ronald Long played him is so over-the-top and bombastic it makes me want to change the channel, except I'm watching a DVD. He's not silly, he's not enjoyably goofy, he's not amusingly crazy. He's an abusive blowhard and I don't like him. I don't want to see him on the screen. I don't want to hear that ridiculous voice braying like an oversized donkey. And I never want to hear the words Mr. Kidno again. Something else I never want to hear again.
Yes, I put him to bed and told him to save his wild stories for the morning.
The next time either of them accuses him of wild stories, I want to shove their faces into a lump of dough and make idiot cookies.
Let's see now. An alien spaceship, a rough, tough admiral who shanghais children, a Dr. Smith who can't be found, let alone a robot. It's wild enough to be believable.
Thank you, Don. It's nice that one of the crew recognizes we're not on Earth. That put a bug in the back of John's brain, so they'll go investigate. I suggest they take Will with them, after a profuse apology.
Well, only to find out how much truth there is to Dr. Smith's story about finding a ship. Well, certainly not Will's about an admiral.
Aren't you even curious about Will's story, Dad?
No, just fascinated by that boy's fantastic imagination. Admiral Zahrk of the Imperial Cassiopeian Navy. Wow.
Never mind. Both Will and Dr. Smith said there's a ship there. Why would Will make up such a tale? And again, how many times have his stories turned out to be fantasies? Maureen can count them on her prostate. Come here, Professor. I want you to inspect this dough for me.
Lower deck looks like it could have been crew's quarters.
Not admiral's quarters?
No evidence that it was even used by a midshipman. But it is an alien ship, all right. So at least that part of Smith's story, as well as Will's, is correct.
Well, I guess you owe Will an apology for that part.
He'll never get it, but you can owe it to him. Now Don is getting an idea for a prank to pull on Dr. Smith.
Now, what have we here?
It is not one of the extras you ordered, Dr. Smith. However, it is an extra propulsion unit from the Jupiter 2 surplus stock.
With the compliments of the Jupiter 2 Bon Voyage? Is this one of Will's jokes?
Negative. The handwriting indicates that the message came from Major West.
At least one member of the crew is enjoying the joke.
What do you find so funny, you hardware hyena?
Major West is calling your bluff, Dr. Smith. He believed you meant it. I think that is very funny.
Don is saying, don't let the G-forces hit you on the butt on your way out. If you really mean to leave, he'll help you.
Blast there, you scheming shore vermin! Mr. Spindlelegs, what have you done with that lad?
If you mean Will Robinson, General.
General! I'm an admiral of the Imperial Fleet, you bumbling ignoramus.
It was the red coat that fooled him. The robot reports that Will is safe and sound with his family. Well, it looks like his replacement is here.
Take it aboard. We shall cast off the moment it's installed.
We, sir.
As I said, Will's replacement is here. And we're not talking about the robot.
Hi, Admiral. Have you seen Dr. Smith this morning?
Good morning, boy. Climb the rigging.
I just want to know if you've seen Dr. Smith this morning.
Didn't you hear what I said, boy? Climb the rigging.
Has it occurred to you that he has no good reason to obey your orders? Of course it hasn't. You're crazy.
Dr. Smith, are you in there?
I have a feeling I know why his crew mutinied and set him adrift in this bucket.
And now we are ready for takeoff, Mr. Kidno! I'm on my way!
He threw his remote control away. I hope he has another way to open that door. Don's gonna think his little prank backfired.
Mom! Dad! I just heard that alien spaceship taking off.
Yes, we're looking at it right here. I can't understand it. Dr. Smith couldn't have gotten that propulsion unit to work.
Will said that propulsion unit was all Admiral Zark needed.
Where's Will now?
Well, he was afraid the Admiral would Shanghai Dr. Smith, so he went out there to warn them.
Gee, Professor, who could have foreseen that Will's wild fantasy would be flying through space the next day, with him in it? Even with stupid episodes like this one, I enjoy this show. But if there was one thing that could completely kill it for me, that would be it. They never learn to trust their children. I have to say that in my book, that makes them somewhat bad parents. Harsh, but especially in their situation, trust among the family is essential. If they keep acting like this, Will is going to reach a point where he doesn't tell them anything, and they'll scratch their heads and wonder why this sudden change came over him. Somewhere along the line, he'll get into real trouble, and they won't even know it until it's too late. You're right, we're not talking about Will Robinson anymore. We're talking about every parent and every child. I had wild fantasies. I could tell my mom about all of them, and she'd just smile and listen and let me relate my tales. Not once did she ever have an unkind word to say about any of them. And you know what that told me? It told me I could trust her. I could tell her anything, real or imagined, and she wouldn't judge. Nothing I told her from the day I was born until the day she died ever got a derisive or disbelieving word out of her. A lot of parents bemoan the fact that they can't communicate with their kids. Well, guess what? It starts with listening. No, strike that. It starts with shutting up, then listening. And it starts early. When my little 3-year-old came home with a little river rock and explained that it was a dinosaur egg, and in the morning the dinosaur was going to hatch, I helped her make a nice little nest for it on the front porch, and her mother took pictures. Next morning, she informed us that it had actually hatched 2 dinosaurs, and they were out looking for food. We wished them well. What would you have said to your child? I know what John Robinson would have said to Will, and I'd like to tweak his nose for it.
Sail with Zark, and you'll be first mate in a year or 2. We'll run a splendid ship together, you and I, midshipman. The pride of the fleet when we sail into our home port. With Mr. Kidno's head hanging from the highest yard arm.
Exactly how many yard arms do you have in this thing, and why?
Hey, Dad, look at this.
Maybe the ship's log. Could give us a clue to their whereabouts if I could decode it.
If he writes like he talks, it shouldn't be too difficult to decode 18th century English. Since there's nothing else he can do, Smith is going to try and convince the Admiral to make a detour to Earth.
Mr. Spindlelegs, what are you doing on my bridge?
He thought if he dressed like a little boy, you'd give him some easier jobs like you did Will. He presents his idea, and the Admiral gives a course change order.
A shortcut to Earth, sir?
A shortcut to Mr. Kidno, you slimy-tongued cuttlefish. And when I catch up with him, his mutinous dog, and his pack of filthy cutthroat scavengers, there'll be no vengeance in all the universe to match mine.
I doubt he even heard what Smith said about Earth or anything else. This guy is way gone.
Mutiny! In the dead of night, I was seized and cast adrift in a leaky space cutter by order of my thieving dog of a mate, Mr. Kidno! But I have outwitted him. Though he be 100 light years away, I will never give up the pursuit. With the crew which I have assembled on this uncharted planet, the chase is on!
And their extra propulsion unit gave him the means to Shanghai a crew for himself and continue the chase. Great prank you pulled on Smith there, Don. I'll spare you all the bombastics because, as I said, it's just not funny. It's loud. That's it. Will has been feeding the Admiral out of the food he brought for Dr. Smith. There's exactly one 2-day-old roll left.
Has the will.
That thing he just adjusted on the table is a knife. I wonder what he thinks it's for. I admit that was funny, probably in part because he didn't say anything. He says, "There's some goat cheese in this locker."
Here we go. Drat.
There's nothing in the locker but cobwebs, sir.
Cobwebs? Where is my goat cheese, boy?
I don't think there's been any goat cheese in that locker for years, sir.
Silence, you impertinent pup! Mr. Kidno!
Everything from the mutiny to missing goat cheese is Mr. Kidno's fault. It got old 3 minutes into the episode. And I think this is the third time he's mistaken Dr. Smith for Mr. Kidno.
Put him in irons, midshipman, and throw him in the box!
You're making a mistake, sir. Dr. Smith's not Mr. Kidno.
Midshipman, do your duty, or I'll throw you overboard and let you hang in space until you burst your seams.
Yes, midshipman, do your duty. You'll find a gun in the gun locker.
Will knows what he's driving at because he's been trying to get Will and the robot to join him in a mutiny ever since they blasted off.
Say, that unit had magnetic drive, didn't it?
Yeah. Meaning it could run forever on a minimum of fuel.
Yeah, I know, but...
But what, John?
Listen, let me get this more clear in my mind, then I'll tell you all about it.
I'd rather you didn't because I know what's coming.
Well, the propulsion unit on Zark's cutter is powered by magnetic drive. So's this, only in reverse.
Well, so far I understand, I think.
Well, when reverse or negative power is applied, it'll attract any vehicle powered by positive magnetic drive.
Including Zark's cutter?
Well, that's the one we're interested in.
Cutting through all the jargon, that thing is a big magnet and he's going to use it to pull Zark's ship back to the planet. Naturally, it works.
The ship is going out of control.
It's coming closer, John.
Let me know the minute it changes course.
I suppose it could have been worse. It could have looked like this. Mr. Kidno isn't on this planet, so the Admiral drops off our intrepid trio and takes off again. Come back when you can't stay so long, and next time wear a muzzle. In the cliffhanger, Dr. Smith has written a play based on the Norse deities. Penny and Will aren't really into it.
Why do I have to be free, Dr. Smith? I've only got 4 lines. Why can't I be Norse god Odin?
For the simple reason that Odin was a man.
Yeah, I'm gonna be Odin.
You will play the part that I've assigned to you, William. Odin, the mythological god of Valhalla, was most glorious, most great. Naturally, it follows that I should play that part.
It's a comedy, then.
Back to Jupiter, Dr. Smith. That looks like a cosmic storm.
Of course it's a storm. I wrote it into the 3rd act.
We're not play acting now, Dr. Smith. That's a real storm. Hurry up, Dr. Smith. Maybe Odin's trying to prove that you're all wet.
Oh, but indeed, young upstart. I'll have you know I'm a match for Odin or any of the other mythological gods.
Definitely a comedy.
Oh, good heavens! Giant hands! They're coming for me!
More precisely, gloves.
Take them off, Dr. Smith.
I can't! They're pulling me apart!
No, you push the other button to get the repulsor right. I have to admit, there's one good thing I can say about this episode. It's over. If you enjoyed this episode, click the like button and let us know. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you always know what is happening, because something is always happening here at Irving Zoo. We make sure of it. We control his computer. Until next time.